Breaking news coming out today, January 24th, 2026 says, take a look at the latest headlines with me. A man shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. DHS says that he was armed. Here's another one coming out. ICE agents destroy a barricade set up by protesters following deadly shooting in Minneapolis. Hundreds of Minnesota businesses are now closed to protest ICE presence. Also, live updates. Federal agents kill a man in Minneapolis. Protesters tear gas. The latest updates as the immigration crackdown continues in Minnesota. ICE raids turn life into a daily terror for Minneapolis school kids. This is a generational trauma we're hearing. And also, police and ICE agents are on a collision course. We are hearing that things are intensified right now. I'm going to be sharing with you the latest video footage, the articles coming in on the breaking news. Now, they are saying that this was actually a Border Patrol agent, not an ICE agent. They're saying that the man was armed. There's details starting to trickle in on the breaking news coming out of the shooting. And now the protesters are just erupting in chaos. I'm going to share with you the video footage and the articles so that way you can see it for yourself, as we're hearing things are significantly escalating right now in Minnesota with everything that is going on. So we're going to dive right in. Hit the subscribe button if this is your first time here. All the articles are going to be linked down in the description below. I cite all the sources. If you appreciate that, hit the like button. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at some video footage to get you caught up on the breaking news coming out right now.
Well, this is a Fox News alert out of Minneapolis. Reports of a shooting there, and that the suspect, according to DHS, was armed. Now, tensions are at the scene are high right now. You're looking at a live image. Let's go to Garrett Tenney. He is live in Minneapolis. Garrett.
Yeah, and Kaylee, this just happened this past hour, so details are still coming in. We'll get a clearer picture as this unfolds, so it is still early. But what we are being told at this point from DHS is that Border Patrol had some type of interaction with a man who was armed. This is a picture that our Bill Malusian got from DHS. This is the gun in 2 magazines that they say he was armed with. And Border Patrol engaged him. There was a shooting. DHS says that CPR was being performed on that person. And the Star Tribune reports that that person has now been taken to the hospital by ambulance. While the details are still coming in, we are already seeing reaction to this. Governor Tim Walz just tweeted out, "I just spoke with the White House after another horrific shooting by federal agents this morning. Minnesota has had it. This is sickening. The president must end this operation, pull the thousands of violent, untrained officers out of Minnesota now." Now, we should point out that while this is happening, this area right around where this happened, this is about a 1.5 miles from where Renee Good was shot about 2.5 weeks ago. This is the 3rd shooting in Minneapolis over the past 2.5 weeks involving federal agents and folks here on the ground. This is going to be another flashpoint. Yesterday was a statewide shutdown with thousands of people coming out into the streets, marching, calling for ICE to get out of the city. This incident is going to play into that. We are already seeing on social media that folks are playing these different narratives. Tim Walz there talking about how this was just suggesting it was an attack on an unarmed individual. People online are already tweeting out this story that this happened as if this person was just assaulted and unarmed at the time. So we have these competing narratives that we are going to see play out over the next day. And we have a press conference with Border Patrol and ICE that was scheduled to take place at noon Eastern. That, we are told, has now been pushed back to 1 p.m. But over at the scene of the shooting, we have a camera that just got there a short time ago. There are, we're told, more than 100 protesters. Then they are being pushed back from that area. Tear gas has been deployed. Flashbangs have been deployed. Local police are now there on the ground trying to get control.
So we lost Garrett Tenney. We'll see if we can get him back. But I'm monitoring these details from our Bill Malusian here. And just to reiterate, this happened on 26th Street East and Nicollet Avenue. This is what Border Patrol is telling Fox News. CPR was administered to this victim. It happened around 10:17 a.m., according to Bill Malusian. And what he's hearing from our sources, and the individual who was shot, again, this is all preliminary. We're just bringing you the details as we get them. DHS telling Fox News that the suspect was armed with a gun and 2 magazines. CPR was administered. That individual was in an ambulance. And at this moment, we do not have any details on the individual and his current status. And you, of course, heard the comment from Governor Walz, We're going to monitor all of this. You look at that scene. It appears to be an agitated scene there in Minneapolis this morning. And this, of course, comes after the shooting of Renee Good, which happened just a few weeks ago. We are going to keep you updated. We will be in touch with Bill Malugin, among others, and Garrett Tenney on the ground.
There you have it, you guys. Now we're hearing that things have erupted, as I said, where they're saying there are over 100 protesters now that have erupted, and there's chaos, and they have arrested them, and that is due to the shooting of this individual they're saying was armed, and it was by Border Patrol. It was an involved shooting in Minneapolis. Let's take a look at some more video footage so you can get the latest.
But you saw the video coming in from the scene. A very tense situation right now. State police on the scene there trying to keep things calm as they begin this investigation into this now deadly shooting, as Garrett puts it. I want to bring in now former acting ICE director Jonathan Fahey is joining us on the phone. Jonathan, thanks for coming on this breaking news. We saw there together a very, very volatile situation. People are very angry right now, these demonstrators and protesters. You've got ICE on the scene, state police, a lot is going on. Walk me through how this investigation begins, because there are a lot of working pieces here. And what we're learning so far is that this person that's been shot was armed, had a gun. We don't know if it was loaded or not, but he had a gun.
Well, I think the first thing they're going to do with basically any investigation, when you secure the crime scene, collect any evidence that's there, talk to witnesses, get video, and things of that nature. So probably standard stuff. It's going to be a federal investigation, again, because the federal agents are involved in the state. You know, in this case, there's really no cooperation with the state because of Tim Walz and the mayor. It's almost impossible. So it's going to be an exclusively federal investigation to get to the bottom of it. What's most concerning about this is we're only basically a week after the Renee Good shooting, and the officials in Minnesota seem like they've done nothing other than to try to ratchet up the situation. And that I just heard that clip you played from Tim Walz saying his solution to this is for the federal government to get out of Minnesota and basically abandon immigration enforcement, which is what they've wanted all along. And it's just shocking to me that he and Jacob Frey have not taken any responsibility, because they have their political issues on one hand, but their primary responsibility is to keep the citizens of Minneapolis on Jacob Frey's part and Tim Walz on the whole state of Minnesota safe, and they seem to have abandoned that responsibility in the name of politics.
Jonathan, we're getting an update now from the AP that is reporting that this is a 51-year-old man who was shot by federal immigration officers, and he has indeed died at the hospital. That's according to the hospital. The AP is reporting right now. Deadly force in any situation, whether it involves ICE or any other federal authorities, state police, any kind of law enforcement agency, is always the last resort, right?
Exactly. And, I was a federal prosecutor for 17 years, and I've dealt with these situations on both ends. And what anyone that knows working with law enforcement, the last things they ever want to do is have to even draw their weapon, let alone use it. So it's always a last resort, but when they're put in situations where their lives are in danger, or they're in danger of serious bodily injury, or importantly, which I think in the applies to the Renee Good case, I don't know about this case yet, but they have a responsibility for not only defending their own lives but the lives of others that are around them. So they have to sort of more than just protect themselves. They have to protect the public. So but I do. Your point is that the last thing they want to do is use deadly force. No one wants to see anyone die, but it does seem like in this case this person had a firearm. It'll be interesting how this unfolds, but my guess is, at least initially, my inclination is probably the officers were justified if the person was armed.
In the Renee Good shooting, we had so many different angles of that shooting that came in pretty fast on social media. And the question I'm wondering here is, are ICE agents on the ground in Minneapolis wearing body cameras? Do you think there will be footage that comes out of this? I'm not sure exactly if these protesters and demonstrators were there on the ground wherever these ICE activities were going on. We don't know what led up to this shooting. We just see them now. They're on the ground in the area now. We don't know if they were there before. But were ICE agents, you think, wearing body cameras?
That I don't know whether or not they were, but my guess will be there will be video footage of this, just because in this day and age, particularly in situations involving ICE and involving protests, seems like everyone is out there filming it. So hopefully there will be video, because a lot of times, whatever the initial reaction to any of these situations, a lot of times once more information comes out, which at least in my view with the Renee Good situation, it really gave a fuller picture, which is more helpful not only for law enforcement but for the public at large.
And this has been a powder keg situation, I mean, since that Renee Good shooting, I would say even before she was shot. We've been watching these protests go on, but we've been watching the tension increase really all over the country. I don't know if you heard about this, but Fox obtained this anonymous letter that was recently sent to the California GOP, and it was calling for war on ICE and agents to be sent home in a, quote, body bag. I mean, it was saying basically that ICE agents and their backers have to be targets, that they have to be, quote, IED'd, run over with vehicles, shot at by snipers, sprayed with toxic chemicals. It was a really horrific letter that was sent by somebody out there that is very angry at this immigration crackdown. I mean, is this kind of rhetoric and what we're hearing from others contributing to what we're seeing now, which is, I mean, really a tinderbox?
There you have it, you guys. We're hearing that is unfolding right now. And let's go ahead and take a look at some more footage coming out on this, as we're hearing that there have been multiple arrests that have been taking place as a result of this shooting just in the past couple hours.
Okay, Steve Harrigan actually on the ground. Steve Harrigan, boy, oh boy, it's hard to believe that this is happening in America. You've been to a lot of different war zones, and this situation is just totally out of control.
These square blocks right here are a run-up to a war zone right now here in Minneapolis. Let's set the scene for you right here. We've got people chanting ICE out or shame. Up ahead, we've got the first line of barricades. Those are dumpsters with rocks in them to try and slow people. Further down, we have another set of barricades, federal officers as well. That smoke is coming from a dumpster that's been set up. So we have really an angry, well-prepared crowd here. A lot of people in gas masks, ready to go. We've had the order from police saying you've got 3 minutes to disband, that this is an unlawful assembly. So really it's going to be a showdown within minutes probably if the police try and move these people out, and how will these people respond to their efforts? Aisha, back to you.
You know, there's an active investigation going on. I'm getting a lot of text messages from the DOJ, the Department of Homeland Security, and they are actively looking at all of the facts and all of the pieces of information. We're expecting a press conference in the next hour, so hopefully we'll get more details about what led up to this. As of just trying to maintain order, okay, so now people are throwing, Steve, we're watching people throw, I don't know what it is, rocks, something at these law enforcement officers.
Yeah, we've seen ice, we've seen rocks, we've seen bottles, and we've seen flashbangs used by the federal officers as well. We haven't seen tear gas on this corner of the road, but a showdown is coming. They have set up barricades on streets. They're blocking traffic, and the police say it's unlawful. The police say they've got 3 minutes. So whether that's 3 or 10 minutes, we are going to see some action here within the next hour.
3 minutes to what? To back off?
3 minutes to back off.
Okay.
Unlawful assembly. That's what they've been told, but there's no sign that anyone is moving soon.
Okay. All right. We'll see what happens in the next 3 minutes.
Hey, it's
There you have it, you guys. Wow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, saying it's basically looking like a war zone out there. Let's take a look at some more footage coming out. I'm actually pulling up live feeds. There's more information, and there's press releases coming out on this. We're going to be taking a look at that in just a second as I'm gathering more information, but let's take a look at this as well.
Thank you, Mark Thiessen. We want to bring in Bill Malusian, who has been on this bill. I'm looking back at your emails since 10:37 a.m. this morning. We learned about this. You learned about it, rather, 20 minutes after this shooting took place. What are you learning this hour?
Yeah, Kaylee, good morning to you. So heard that this happened a little after 10:15 Eastern time, and I'll start with what we do know. This was a Border Patrol-involved shooting. This was not ICE. Border Patrol shot somebody who DHS tells Fox News was armed with a gun. They have recovered that gun as well as 2 magazines. Now, I'm told the person was shot multiple times, and that medics were working on them and that CPR was being performed. There is a video floating around online of the shooting where you can see this shooting happening. What we do not know right now is what led up to the shooting or what type of enforcement this was. Was this a targeted immigration enforcement? Did Border Patrol know who this person was? Was it somebody in the U.S. illegally that they were marking for arrest? Was this a protester? Was this an agitator? Was this a U.S. citizen? Those are the questions we don't know right now. Obviously, when something like this happens, information is coming out very quickly, and there's all sorts of differing reports. But what we can confirm is that Border Patrol agents did, in fact, shoot somebody in Minneapolis this morning. And DHS tells Fox News that person was armed with a gun. You're looking at images of that gun right now. The gun was loaded and had 2 separate magazines. So we do not have an update on that person's condition just yet. I'm working the phones, working the sources to find out exactly what led up to this, who this person was, how it all went down. But you can see from the live images, obviously this is going to turn into a powder keg situation. You've got politicians putting statements out already. You got people gathering to protest. You got, federal agents and police trying to hold those folks back. As information starts to develop on this shooting throughout the morning, you're going to have more and more people showing up at the scene here, and this is likely going to turn into another scene of heated protest today based off what we've seen in Minneapolis the last couple of weeks, Kaylee. But going to continue working the phones. All we can confirm right now, Border Patrol shooting, 1 suspect down, and gun recovered.
And, we're looking at that image there of the weapon that the individual who was shot had. You just noted, I had read that there were 2 magazines there, but this is a loaded weapon?
That is what some of the initial reports are. I'm not going to 100% confirm that yet. All I can 100% confirm is that a gun was recovered, and that agents have that gun and that the suspect was armed.
And one final question for you. Governor Walz's statement, I just spoke with the White House after another horrific shooting by federal agents this morning. Minnesota has had it. This is sickening. Out right there, he said he spoke with the White House. Was it Secretary Noem who said she had an open line of communication with Walz? I recall there was a cabinet secretary that said they were in touch with Walz through the Renee Good shooting as well.
Yeah, I believe it was Secretary Noem. And then keep in mind, VP J.D. Vance was just out there in Minnesota the other day, and there were reports that he met with Minnesota AG Keith Ellison, and they had a pretty frank conversation about immigration enforcement in the state. So there does appear to be some lines of communication between the federal government and Minnesota here, despite all of the, all of the criticisms we see going back and forth between the two of them. But look, Haley, I mean, this is going to be, the second incident of a shooting involving a federal agent, actually the third shooting involving federal agents in Minneapolis in recent weeks. Obviously, we had the shooting of Renee Good. Then we had the shooting where DHS alleged that several Venezuelan illegal aliens attacked an agent with a shovel, leading to a shooting. That one was not fatal. We're waiting to find out if this was a fatal shooting. Last check was the person was having CPR performed on them with medics on scene. So, and that's the thing that the local politicians in Minnesota are complaining about, is they're saying, the shootings that are happening right now are federal agents. DHS will counter that. Well, if you would cooperate with us and work with us and give us the criminals in your jails, then we wouldn't have to be out doing roving patrols in the community looking for these illegal aliens who are out in the sanctuary state of Minnesota. So this continues to just turn into a powder keg. And with this new shooting, you're going to have more protesters showing up on scene here, and you're likely going to have this dueling narrative. Some folks and activists are tweeting that this person was unarmed and that this was an unjustified shooting. DHS is countering that no, this person had a gun and we recovered it, and that's why they put the picture out of it. So it's an information war, Kaylee, and they're going to try to get information out as fast as they can, and so will we. And once we confirm that information, we will pass it along.
Bill Malugin, thank you.
There you have it, you guys. Now, I am finding tons of information starting to pour in. There are press releases and some pretty intense video footage that is coming out, but let's keep it rolling. I'm going to play that for you in just a second. If you haven't done so yet, please take a second, hit the like button. If you appreciate the live update pouring in today, January 24th, 2026. But let's take a look at some more video footage.
The storm and sub-freezing temperatures didn't slow down the thousands who took to the streets of Minnesota for an anti-ice protest, which they called the Day of Truth and Freedom.
The demonstrations leading to more than 100 arrests at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport.
Garrett Tenney is live in Minneapolis with more. Good morning, Garrett.
Hey, good morning, y'all. We had protests happening all across the city yesterday, but this one downtown was massive. We're talking about thousands of people that came out in below freezing temperatures, dressed up in full ski clothes, goggles and everything. There were anti-ice signs taped to hockey sticks, and it was so cold that people's beards were freezing. But the overriding message at all of these protests was, we want ice out of our city. Leading up to that march, more than 100 people were arrested at a protest at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, many of them clergy members who were blocking traffic in one of the entrances because they say ICE has been using the airport to fly arrested individuals out of the state. While those protests stayed peaceful, over at the federal Whipple building, federal officials say a group of agitators showed up with a U-Haul filled with shields and riot gear to try and block agents from being able to come and go out of that facility. Those agitators refused repeated warnings to disperse and were eventually cleared out with tear gas and pepper balls. Activists are also celebrating now that 2 of the individuals arrested from that church protest last weekend have been released. One of them was on CNN last night, calling the charges against them a sham prosecution simply for speaking truth.
Anyone who saw the video saw that we were very peaceful, and the description that they gave with regard to churchgoers, that to me sounds like what ICE is actually doing in our community. Terrorizing adults and children, making them fearful, disrupting their lives. That's what ICE is doing. That's not what we did.
Yeah, Fox has learned there are multiple other individuals federal prosecutors are hoping to be able to arrest in connection to that protest at the church. But we're told that a federal magistrate judge so far has refused to sign off on those arrest warrants.
There you have it. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who do you have support for? Do you have support for ICE? If so, drop ICE in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Or do you have support right now for the protesters? If the protesters put protesters in the comments, drop it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. I'm seeing varying opinions pouring in right now, and I'd just like to see where you're currently at with all of this. But we have got a ton of stuff coming in right now. Let me share with you some video footage pouring in. We've got Live Now with Fox, and we also have, it looks like Tim Walz is telling Trump to pull ICE out of Minnesota right now. And there is, it looks like a press release made by Frey pleading for Trump to have ICE pulled out of the city. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you haven't done so yet, please hit that like button. Let's just go ahead and dive into the video footage. It's pouring in, and I want to get you guys the latest coming out. So let's go ahead and take a look.
All right, and you are hearing the background audio right there. This is a raw feed coming in from both KMSP, Fox News, as well as we have another one coming in from the Associated Press showing several different angles here. Again, I do want to remind you that viewer discretion is advised, as of course you're hearing some vulgar language, and you are going to see it on some of the signs that are out there. I do want to let you know that we are hearing right now, confirmed by the Minnesota Star-Tribune via the Minneapolis Police Chief, Brian O'Hara, that the person shot there by a federal officer has died from their injuries. Again, we don't know much about this person, but that is according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune and our partners over at Fox 9 Minneapolis reporting that as well. There is video circulating on social media of all of this unfolding. Now, we are, of course, working to independently confirm that is the case, but as of right now, we do know the man who was shot by a Border Patrol officer, according to Fox News. That was Bill Malugin, who put out that information earlier, now confirming that that person has died as a result of their injuries. We know that we are expecting to hear from Mayor Fry coming up in just about, I would say, 23 minutes. And coming up in just about an hour, Greg Bovino, who is the Border Patrol commander, is expected to speak as well. Right now, what I want to do is pop up the audio once again so we can listen in to this raw feed coming into our newsroom.
On your own murder call, guys. Where's that guy? It's a good shoot, right? Where is he? Obviously, it's a good shoot. So, that'd be a good shoot. So, where did you, They have no fucking plan. Shame! 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 Shame!
All right, and we are now getting a statement coming in from the Border Patrol Union. That is the NBPC. They posted on social media just moments ago saying, quote, Border Patrol agents are trained extremely well to protect themselves, their fellow agents, and innocent third parties. When a supposed, quote, peaceful protester brings a weapon such as a loaded handgun and brandishes it, there are going to be severe consequences and repercussions. We have pleaded with and warned the media and the politicians that their irresponsible, hate-filled, and false rhetoric is going to get people unnecessarily hurt or worse, killed, when they portray our agents and officers as the aggressors. They have encouraged these reckless confrontations and attacks on our agents and officers who are performing their lawful duties and enforcing the laws that Congress has put on the books. The fake and dishonest media and the shameless politicians should be held accountable for willfully misleading the public and enticing these protesters and agitators. We have full confidence that when more facts are revealed, our agents and officers will be shown to have utilized justifiable force in eliminating the threat, end quote. Again, that is a statement just coming in here from the Border Patrol Union, that is the NBPC. Right now, the clashes do continue between the protesters and federal law enforcement. Let's lift up the audio.
It's just snow, you fucking cowards!
Wow, there you have it, you guys. So things are intense over there. A lot of footage coming in. Let's take a look at some more coming out here.
You're gonna kill me! That's what you want? You wanna kill me? You wanna kill me on the street? You're gonna have to fucking kill me! I have done nothing wrong!
marketing is easy. This one even said we should get some fan.
Sarah, we're with you.
Sarah Allen, please, that's my husband, Matt Allen.
Okay.
We were just running away from the gas. That's all we were doing.
Where is he right now?
He's being arrested by ICE.
Okay, we're gonna take care. We're gonna take care of him. Can I get you inside? What's your husband's name?
His name is Matthew James Obadiah Allen.
Matthew James Obadiah Allen. Write that down. Matthew James. We're not gonna let him get lost.
Keep looking at
It's gonna be fine. Matthew James Obadiah Allen. Matthew James Obadiah Allen. You're writing it down. Thank you. I'm just gonna keep saying it.
What's your name?
What he would want?
What's your fucking name, Rusty?
So I'm gonna track him in the system. We're gonna make sure he's gonna be fine. We're gonna make sure he's gonna be fine.
What's your
I wanna get you.
All right, again, you can hear some vulgar language being used there in the background. On the bottom right-hand side of your screen, the podium is set up. There is a microphone there as we expect to hear from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara. They're expected to make remarks here in a matter of moments. That was slated to start just about 2 minutes ago, so we should be hearing from them in just a second, and we are going to make sure to bring you those remarks here as they get underway. We also know about 1 p.m. Eastern Time, so in just about 28 minutes, we are going to be hearing from Greg Bavino. He is with Border Patrol. He's been holding different news conferences as well as all of the situations have unfolded there. And this is actually a live look at the podium for that image that should be starting here in just under 30 minutes. We're going to bring you all of these live feeds and raw feeds as we are getting them here into our newsroom.
He's still alive. We didn't hit any shots or anything. So just probably put him in a car. See right over there? I don't want you getting any closer. I don't want you getting any closer. Is he that person they're surrounding over there?
All right, do want to remind you that viewer discretion is advised. This is a warning. Vulgar language is going to appear on screen. You're going to hear all of that as well. Just keep that in mind, but this is a raw feed. As you can see, one of the protesters appears to be crying and is essentially being comforted by what appears to be another protester. Again, federal law enforcement there after we learned from the Associated Press that a 51-year-old man has been shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent. Greg Bavino with Border Patrol, who was supposed to join us around 1 p.m. Eastern Time, looks like that might be pushed back as there is now a news conference at 1 p.m. Eastern with Greg Bavino, the Border Patrol commander, expected to provide remarks about this shooting and other arrests there in Minneapolis. But as you can see, there is a large group of protesters. They have been holding up the different trash cans that are in that area, kind of using them to create what appears to be a barrier of sorts. Now, the Associated Press saying that a man was fatally shot by a Border Patrol agent in Minneapolis this morning, and the Department of Homeland Security saying that the man was armed with a gun. 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is now come and gone. We are at 12:34. We expect that we're going to get a news conference with Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, as well as the Minneapolis Police Chief. That is Brian O'Hara. Again, it looks like things are kind of set up and ready to go, so we should be getting that shortly. We're going to bring you those remarks as well as the live feed of Greg Bavino when he does take the podium. For now, though, do want to take you back out to that raw sound out there live as all of this is ongoing.
All right, you guys, let me go ahead and share with you what we actually have here in regards to those meetings. So you can see here, here's the press conference from Frey. Let's go ahead and take a look.
I'm going to turn it over to the chief to provide an update and some of the details based on the limited amount of information that we have thus far this morning, and then I will provide some comments myself. Chief?
My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N-O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. At approximately 9:03 a.m. this morning, Minneapolis police received a report of a shooting involving federal law enforcement in the area of East 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue on the south side of the city. Officers arrived and found an adult male with multiple gunshot wounds when they arrived. Life-saving aid was being rendered, and he was transported by ambulance to Hennepin County Medical Center, where he was later pronounced deceased. Based on the information that we have, which is very limited, this is a 37-year-old white male who is a Minneapolis resident, and we believe he is an American citizen. We have not been told any official reports of what has led up to the shooting, but we have seen the video that is circulating on social media. Our demand today is for those federal agencies that are operating in our city to do so with the same discipline, humanity, and integrity that effective law enforcement in this country demands. We urge everyone to remain peaceful. We recognize that there is a lot of anger and a lot of questions around what has happened, but we need people to remain peaceful. In the area, we have an unlawful assembly at this time. Minneapolis police have given multiple warnings for the crowd to disperse. We are asking for people to avoid the area and to leave if you are there. We have requested mutual aid from the Minnesota State Patrol and from all our local and county regional partners. We ask everyone to remain calm and to please do not destroy our own city.
I just saw a video of more than 6 masked agents pummeling one of our constituents and shooting him to death. How many more residents, how many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end? How many more lives need to be lost before this administration realizes that a political and partisan narrative is not as important as American values? How many times must local and national leaders must plead with you, Donald Trump, to end this operation and recognize that this is not creating safety in our city? As you'll hear from Director Sayer in just a second, we have seen these kinds of operations in other places, in other countries, but not here in America. Not in a way where a great American city is being invaded by its own federal government. I'm done being told that our community members are responsible for the vitriol in our streets. I'm done being told that our local elected officials are solely responsible for turning down the temperature. Just yesterday, we saw 15,000 people peacefully protesting in the streets, speaking out, standing up for their neighbors. Not a single broken window, not a single injury. Those peaceful protests embody the very principles that both Minneapolis and America was founded upon. Conversely, the mass militarized force and unidentified agents who are occupying our streets, that is what weakens our country. That is what erodes trust in both law enforcement and in democracy itself. So to everyone listening, stand with Minneapolis. Stand up for America. Recognize that your children will ask you what side you were on. Your grandchildren will ask you what you did to act to prevent this from happening again, to make sure that the foundational elements of our democracy were rock solid. What did you do to protect your city? What did you do to protect your nation? This is not what America is about. This is not a partisan issue. This is an American issue. This administration and everyone involved in this operation should be reflecting. They should be reflecting right now and asking themselves, what exactly are you accomplishing? If the goal was to achieve peace and safety, this is doing exactly the opposite. If the goal was to achieve calm and prosperity, this is doing exactly the opposite. Are you standing up for American families right now? Or are we tearing them apart? The invasion of these heavily armed masked agents roaming around on our streets of Minneapolis, emboldened with a sense of impunity, it has to end. This is not how it has to be. So, to President Trump, this is a moment to act like a leader. Put Minneapolis, put America first in this moment. Let's achieve peace. Let's end this operation, and I'm telling you, our city will come back. Safety will be restored. We're asking for you to take action now to remove these federal agents. Director Sayer.
My name is Rachel Sayer, and I am the Director of the Emergency Management Department for the City of Minneapolis. I took this job to keep us safe because I live here, and this is my community. We are doing everything we can to mitigate the impacts of this terrible situation. The city's Emergency Operations Center continues to be activated, as it has throughout the surge in federal agents over the last few weeks. We are tracking impacts and coordinating the city's response to this situation, which is having profound repercussions in our community. I can't underscore enough how much Operation Metro Surge is impacting our city. Families with loved ones detained and those who are...
All right, you guys, so we just heard from the mayor and from the city police. I also have the response that came out from Border Patrol just a little while ago as well. I want to share that with you so you can hear their take on this. So I'm going to pull that up right now so you can hear both sides. So you heard the mayor's side. Now let's hear what it was that Border Patrol had to say on all of this as well.
Of leading United States Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection here in Minneapolis. Some of those brave men and women of Border Patrol and Department of Homeland Security law enforcement join me here today to show support for all federal law enforcement who have been under constant attack in Minneapolis for weeks now. This morning was no different. At 9:05 a.m. Central Standard Time, as DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien, Jose Huerta Chuma. You can see this illegal alien on the screen to my left and right. That is Jose Huerta Chuma, whose criminal history includes domestic assault to intentionally inflict bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 loaded magazines and no accessible ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Then, about 200 rioters arrived at the scene and began to obstruct and assault law enforcement. Crowd control measures have been deployed for the safety of the public and law enforcement. This situation is evolving and more information is forthcoming. The officer was highly trained and had been serving as a Border Patrol agent for 8 years. The officer has extensive training as a range safety officer and less lethal officer. As mentioned, this is only the latest attack on law enforcement. Across the country, the men and women of DHS have been attacked, shot at, doxxed, had their family members threatened. And, as we have seen, more than 100 vehicle rammings over the past year against federal law enforcement. We will not allow violence against our law enforcement officers, and we need state and local help, state and local law enforcement, to help us coordinate to get violent criminals off the street. Mayor Fry and Chief O'Hare just a few minutes ago did the opposite of that by omitting the fact that the suspect had a gun and magazines full of ammunition. In what looks like a situation, again, where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. I want to reiterate what President Donald Trump, Secretary Kristi Noem, myself, Director Marcos Charles, and so many others have said time and again. If you obstruct a law enforcement officer or assault a law enforcement officer, you are in violation of the law and will be arrested. Our law enforcement officers take an oath to protect the public. We go to work every day to protect our friends, our neighbors, and our fellow citizens. The fact of the matter is that the law does not enforce itself. It takes men and women who are willing to risk their lives to enforce it. The men and women of CBP and ICE, law enforcement, are highly trained professionals who love this country and do this work because they want to leave their kids and their grandkids a country that's safe and secure. Questions?
All right. Allie, go ahead. One question. First question, when did agents learn that he had a gun, and did he ever brandish that weapon at agents?
Allie, this situation, again, is evolving. This situation is under investigation. Those facts will come to light. This particular incident is being investigated just like we investigate other similar incidents like we've done over the past several years. It's in the hands of professionals. Those facts will come to light.
All right, going on to the next question.
So, did he have an additional gun, or was the gun moved from the scene? And I watched the video from start to finish of that woman who was wearing the red jacket, and it doesn't seem like he pulled the weapon at any point. So, did the account come from the agent? Did they say that he pulled the gun before, during, after? When does the gun come out?
Again, this situation's evolving. This is under investigation. Those facts will come to light. But let's take a look at the gun. You can see the gun here on the screen there that individual possessed. It appears to be a semi-automatic, high-capacity type, possibly a Sig Sauer 9mm.
All right, no more questions. Sorry, no more questions, sir.
Commander, where was the gun?
Well, there you have it, you guys. Looks like that was the end of the interview. And so that was an update that we got from both the Border Patrol and then also Minnesota as well. So let me know your thoughts on this. As more comes out, I'm going to be sharing this with you, but take a look at some video footage coming out as we're hearing that Waltz tells Trump to pull ICE, the CBP, out of Minnesota as protests erupt. And so Waltz also getting in on this too. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here.
This breaking news out of Minneapolis, where a shooting has taken place. You're looking live at the scene as these pictures begin to roll in. Here are the details. Bill Malugin learned just after 10:15 a.m. about a Border Patrol shooting, multiple law enforcement sources confirming this to him. It took place at 26th Street East and Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis. Border Patrol shot someone. CPR was being performed. The individual was on the scene with medics around him, was loaded into an ambulance and taken away. Unclear on his condition this morning. We learned that that individual was armed. There were 2 magazines. We've obtained a picture of the weapon that DHS tells us was on the individual who was shot. Governor Walz, since then, has come out and said he spoke with the White House, he said in his words, after another horrific shooting by federal agents this morning. Minnesota has had it, he said. This is sickening. The president must end this operation, pull the thousands of violent, untrained officers out of Minnesota now, Governor Walz said. With that, let's bring in Nicole Parker. Nicole, as we learn these details, we see the weapon. We're in the very preliminary stages, only sharing the details we know. What is your analysis with the limited information we have here at 11:50?
That's a key point right there, Kaylee. This is a limited analysis because there's not a lot of information out at this point. But again, it's very important to note that it is from the perspective of the agent at the time that the shooting occurred. It is not Monday morning quarterbacking. Hindsight is 2020. It is, did those agents believe that they were in, serious danger of death or serious physical injury, and did they believe that that deadly force was justified? And we need to look very closely at the fact that they likely saw the firearm. That's a big red flag when you're a law enforcement officer and you're, the videos that I've seen, very limited, but it appears that they were in close contact with them. If you believe that a subject is grabbing for that weapon and that they could pull it out at any moment and use it and fire it against you, that is going into your checklist of things. Is deadly force justified? And again, these agents are expected to make split-second decisions. It is between, life or death, action versus reaction. But we will let the full investigation work itself out. I know that there was a question that I believe was asked earlier on, and they asked, was the magazine in the gun? Let's say that the magazine was not in the gun, okay? Just a scenario that might be the case. Frankly, that's irrelevant because the agent, if they do not know whether or not it is loaded or not, when you are seeing a gun in your face and you're in the scuffle, then you have to, again, assume that is a gun. An appearance of a gun, things of that sort, again, agents are going through their minds check by check. And when Tim Walz is coming out and saying, based on the quote that you shared, these are violent, untrained officers, with all due respect, having been a federal agent, we are highly trained officers. We go through extensive training. We go through these types of scenarios over and over and over to the point where you literally have to justify whether or not deadly force would be used in front of a legal panel. So for him to say that they are untrained, I think is highly inaccurate. And again, this is the rhetoric that is causing this problem in the first place.
And Nicole, I asked our team to put on the sound. You can now hear the sound from that video on the streets there. It seems to be peaceful at the moment, but I wanted to play this sound here as we're watching this video, because what Governor Walz said, look, he said he spoke with the White House. We do not have a comment from the White House just yet. We do have details coming in from DHS. But it seems to me, to your point, to talk about violent, untrained officers, to immediately characterize the shooting before the facts come out, it's a peaceful scene right here. But there's no doubt these individuals are hearing what the governor says, hearing what the White House says, and it would be wise to calm tensions rather than elevate them. And it seems the White House outreach was an attempt to do that with Governor Walz, to talk about the facts on the ground.
Correct. And so this is where the problem lies, is that you have these individuals. Why do you think that the Department of Justice is looking into these individuals for potential obstruction? Because they are off making these sorts of comments. They are riling up their constituents. Let the facts speak for themselves. But again, I take high offense to anyone that says that these federal agents are not trained. It is anything but the truth. We are very highly trained, regardless of what agency you're a member of, whether it's FBI, DEA, CBP, very highly trained, probably the best in the country.
Yeah, and Nicole, we're waiting to see if that weapon was loaded. Just one more question for you here. You point out just if the magazines were there and the gun was visible, what is an officer thinking? Because these officers have been rammed with cars. We saw that with ICE. This is Border Patrol. We await to hear what this interaction was, but there was a weapon, it seems to be involved.
Correct. I mean, it appears based on the coverage that you have that there was a weapon recovered at the scene. you see a weapon, you see a gun, automatically you're going again. I keep saying it, but it literally is like a checklist in your mind, and you're expected to make these split-second decisions. When there's a firearm potentially the subject is grabbing for the firearm, has the firearm visible to the agent, and again, it's the agent's perspective. Did they believe that their life was in, some serious injury or physical death, imminent injury or death at the time that they made that decision? But let's look and see. Let's see what the investigation says. I would be curious to know if these CBP officers had body cams on. That's always extremely telling and very helpful for investigations. But what I've learned in these cases, and again, going back to George Floyd days, it always is different than what the media initially is able to show. And there's always multiple angles to it. And that's why it's always very important to withhold judgment until there is a full picture of what actually transpired. And so again, no one wants to use their firearm, Kaylee. When you're an officer, a law enforcement officer of any agency, local, state, federal, the last thing you want to do is have to pull your weapon, because regardless of whether or not the deadly force is justified, the use of lethal force is justified, you know that you are going to go through the highest level of scrutiny. They are going to come after you, your family. I mean, we saw what happened after George Floyd. There were clean shoots happening, and police officers were going to jail for clean shoots. So I can tell you from the perspective of law enforcement, this is a last resort effort if you are using deadly force. And so let's keep everything in mind and leave it up to the professionals to conduct the investigation. And again, keep the constituents as calm as possible. No one wants to have to use their firearm, but if they do, trust me, the first thing they're going to be doing is going to the agent and doing a full investigation and saying, why did you think that deadly force was justified? And you have to legally articulate exactly why you did what you did.
Yes, no doubt about it. Nicole Parker, thank you for your analysis based on the limited set of facts that we have. You're looking live on the ground at Minneapolis, and you can hear, audible kind of chants of protest, peaceful scene right there at the moment. And just to reorient our viewers with the facts we have at the moment, we do not know if that weapon was visible to the Border Patrol agent. We don't know if it was drawn. All we know at the moment is that there was a weapon on the individual who was shot by Border Patrol. There were 2 magazines there as well. You're looking at an image of that. And as we pull back up that live image of Minneapolis, let's also bring in Mark Thiessen. Mark Thiessen, you're back with us. I wanted to get back with you because you mentioned Tim Walz's statement, and I just read it in full. I'm sure you heard it there. He said that he spoke with the White House this morning, and he said it's a horrific shooting by federal agents this morning. Minnesota, have had it. This is sickening. The president must end this operation, pull the thousands of violent, untrained officers out of Minnesota. So he has a very clear viewpoint early on in this. I also want to remind our viewers what President Trump said from the White House this week, the White House podium. He said, Renee Good was shot. That was the shooting a few weeks ago. I felt terribly about that. I understand both sides of it. That is a comment from the White House earlier in the week. We have no fresh comment from the White House now. But it strikes me that kind of sentiment is the sentiment we need now as we await a White House response.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Walz is, there but for the grace of God goes our vice president. I mean, what to come out and make such a highly charged statement when we don't know so many of the facts is simply outrageous. And the one fact we do know is that the Border Patrol shot someone who was armed. So that's a problem. If that person was an illegal migrant that they were targeting, there's no circumstance under which someone who's in our country illegally should have a gun. So that's a problem. If it was a protester, then that it could be because they responded. They've been pouring gasoline on the fire and encouraging these protesters to go and challenge ICE. Everything that the state of Minnesota is doing is putting people in greater danger. Because if the ICE has to go out into the community and find these people as opposed to taking them when they're being released from prisons in cooperation with local enforcement, then, thank God only the person with the gun was shot. Bystanders could have been shot. He could have pulled his weapon and started shooting back, and there could have been a shootout. There's so many possibilities of how this could have gone much worse than it did. And so they're forcing with the sanctuary policies, they're forcing ICE to go out and into the communities to find these criminal aliens, and they're encouraging people to interfere with them. They're not just not cooperating, which is what they should be doing. They are encouraging people to get in their way.
Yeah.
And so this is a recipe for danger. They are putting protesters' lives at risk. They are putting the illegal migrants who they claim they want to protect. They're putting their lives at risk. They're putting bystanders at risk by everything they're doing. So if anything is dangerous and unlawful, it's what Tim Walz is doing. And there ought to be consequences for how the state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis is handling this.
Mark, I want to bring back Nicole Parker here for a moment. Nicole, we just have a few moments here, but it seems to be some smoke is rising. I don't know if these are smoke bombs. It was peaceful when we began to talk, and we noted that rhetoric really matters now, and calming tensions really matters. What are we seeing on our screens now? What's your analysis of this?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to keep things calm and, diffuse the tension. Again, Kaylee, this is not what agents ever want to have happen. It's insulting to hear this governor make it seem like, this is the wild, wild west and this is what they want to be doing. This is not what they want to be doing. They are literally enforcing the laws. These are targeted interactions. These are targeted operations. They are simply doing their job. And again, without the details of who the subject is, whether they were someone that they were arresting, whether they were a bystander or protester, frankly, when you're looking at the deadly force policies, that's completely irrelevant. For them, they are literally looking at what we've gone over and over before. But my piece of advice to anyone in Minneapolis and frankly anywhere in the country, let the law enforcement do their job. If you don't want to run into problems, stay out of the vicinity of law enforcement. Allow them to perform and execute their legal warrants. And if you want to protest, you have that right. Stay out of the way.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with her? She said, you have the right to protest, but you do not have the right to impede on them doing their lawful duty of trying to make arrests. Let me know if you agree in the comments, yes or no, agree, disagree. And I actually just watched the video footage. I saw it right now on X. It is circulating around. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go ahead and check it out on X. And it was really hard to be able to tell from the video footage that's been released what unfolded there. So I would recommend you go check it out over there. And it looked like there was a group of people. There was somebody blocking traffic. Some officers came over trying to push them out of the way. There was a tussle. There was at least 6 people involved in this, all pushing each other around. And that individual that was shot, it looked like he was getting up and maybe he pulled out a gun. I couldn't tell from the footage, but then one of the officers pulled out a gun and shot. Several shots were fired. And then that individual, it looked like he was probably dead on the spot. That's what I saw from what I just saw on X. I've only seen that one that I just pulled up right now. So if you're interested, go check it out. But as more develops on this, I'll be sure to let you know. But it appears that things are just absolutely erupting in Minnesota right now with everything that is taking place. But that is the latest, you guys. Wanted to get you caught up on the breaking news coming out today, January 24th, 2026. Like I said, as more develops, I'll keep you up to speed. There's also a lot going on in the Middle East with Iran and also with Greenland. We're hearing there are things that are in the works right now for the United States acquiring that piece of land. I'll keep you up to speed on all of it here on the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll keep you up to speed and catch you in the next one. Take care, you guys. God bless. This is Steve.